Youngpreneurs Podcast, episode number 131 with your host, Victor Ahipenny. What's up, world? Another day, another podcast, and today I have got on with you a legend. He's an absolute legend. I had a lot of fun doing this show. His name's Cameron Brown, and he got actually introduced to me from one of our other previous guests, Eric Tamundi, who's been on the show a couple of times, and he said, look, you have to connect with Cam. He's doing awesome things. He's taking the world by storm, and he literally is taking the world by storm. He runs a company called The Thriving Collective, and it's basically connecting you with awesome experiences as well as awesome people all around the world to basically make the world a better place. Not only that, he also writes songs. He's an advocate for a better life with no bullying and all these other amazing things. I had a super awesome time chatting with Cam, and I have no doubt that you'll get so much value out of this episode. If you do, then make sure you go and check out passiveincomeyoung.com, where we have all the resources that we talk about throughout this episode, as well as I've put together a free video training program for you to be able to set up and launch your first online business with $0 of your own money. And we've also got all our previous episodes there. If you really enjoyed the show, I would love it if you could jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and a review and share this out to the world, as the more people that can hear these powerful messages like Cam's, like everybody else's that we have on the show, the better and the more the show can grow. So in the meantime, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
You're listening to the Youngpreneurs Podcast, the number one resource online for under 35-year-olds, where we chat twice a week to the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the world. We have it all. If you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or actionable tips to help you transition from that job into a business, or if you're ready to take that business to a whole new level, then this is the place to be. Get ready to live life on your own terms.
Youngpreneurs, what is up? Super stoked to have you here because there's going to be a huge amount of value in this episode. Actually got introduced to our latest guest from a previous guest, which is often the way. And I get these messages after I've chatted with a few of our past guests, and this one was from Eric Tamundi, and he's been on actually a couple of episodes now. And if you haven't, go back and check those out, because he's doing some awesome things with the Gen Y. And he messaged me. He's like, Vic, I've met this guy, Cameron Brown. He's an absolute legend. You've got to connect with him. You've got to get him on your show. So that was testimony enough for me to get Cam on the show. So welcome, man. It's awesome to have you.
Hey man, I'm really excited about today. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
So I'd love to get a bit of a background before we, I guess, dive into what you do. But what did growing up look like for you? Like, how did you get into the entrepreneurial space? Was it parental influences? Was it always on the cards that you were going to be going down this path, or did you kind of stumble across it?
Going back, I mean, I'm from outback Australia, so hugely isolated out there, and I think that there were two, thinking back to it, there were a few entrepreneurial ventures that were completely failures. So I wouldn't say that I was influenced positively back then, but I know that I was going to have a shop in a cubby house on the dirt road where we grew up, and to sell some stuff to people that would drive past. Like, the thing is, like, peak hour back then was like 5 cars driving past, or 5 vehicles driving past throughout the day, and one of them would be dad in the tractor. So not the smartest move. I think the other one was I was with my sister and had a big idea to drive ride up to the highway on the push bike with a little trailer on the back. I remember it was a little red trailer, and we're going to go collect cans, because here in where I grew up in South Australia, you got 5 cents for every can that you brought into the recycling place, and I think it was like about 37 degrees that day, Celsius, and it lasted about maybe 10 cans. So we're going to get thousands of these things, and we're going to be rich, and it just didn't happen. So that going back, but I love that growing up, and it's been something that I've realised even more as I've gone into business and building an actual company around that's globally based now. Where one thing that I learned back then was there was this, even though we were really isolated, there was a huge amount of space, space to be creative and to be curious and to explore. And that's served me hugely well. It's definitely got me in trouble on more than one occasion, but I absolutely love that sense of curiosity has stayed with me throughout my life, and the challenging of what's possible, and it's become even more just more valuable as time's gone on. So yeah.
So you're now, I mean, to say that you've got networking down to an art would be, I guess, an understatement, or the ability to facilitate networking, which is, I guess, even harder. What is it exactly? So you run Thriving Collective. What, for everyone out there, what is Thriving Collective?
Yep. So the Thriving Collective is all about helping good people to dream big and live fully and utilize their unique talents and strengths to make an impact. And so we run, different types of events and experiences around the world. I came back from running events in New York, LA, and Toronto, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide on the last piece. So do different events and experiences. It's also through the talks I give internationally, people I coach through the Thriving Year coaching program, and then music and videos that I create that have reached millions in over 195 countries now. So people range from executives to entrepreneurs, athletes, musicians, actors. The common theme in everybody is that they have a genuine belief and almost a level of responsibility that they have within themselves to utilize what they've been given in this lifetime to create positive change in some capacity. So that's the end. It's an exciting project which maybe we'll get a chance to chat about what's coming next, which is extremely exciting, and we're just going to take that to a whole new level.
Yeah. Before we jump into that, so obviously I'm a bit privy to knowledge, but you jump on Meetup, you jump on local events. There's tons of events that people can go to. How do you separate yourself? Like, are you any different? How do you separate yourself from the crowd?
Yeah, it's a good question. I believe that positioning and the story that I tell, and this is the same for anybody in any type of business, having clarity in the message that you have and why you're in business and the purpose behind it is incredibly important, because it allows then for the people who are resonating with the message to really opt into it, and for those who aren't, to get the hell out of there. So we barely ever have anyone who's just looking to get stuff. Everybody's focused on giving. We ran the event in Toronto. I'd never been there before, and ran an event that people paid to come along to, and almost every single person, if not every single person, is focused on giving in some way, shape, or form. There are such a range of industries though, from philanthropy to staffing to PR to there was crop protection. There's a huge range of wellness programs, and these are mostly established businesses. We had people with up to 900 staff, for example, owners of the company. So it's genuine people that are not just wanting to do something, but are actually doing it, and that's probably the differentiator there. But yeah, you're right. There are a huge amount of events, and it's really important that you find the ones that you resonate with most, and that's going to allow you to add the most amount of value, because that's going to allow you to generate return in that way as well.
And how do people find your events, or do you find them, or is it like a referral-based system? Most of the events are invite only, and so it's usually they're either referred in or I find somebody that I'm wanting to introduce in some way. And we have more experiences coming up next year. We just started running virtual events as well, virtual networking events. We're doing one in North America and one in Australia. Because what I found is that most of my introductions these days are to people living in different cities or different countries. And we genuinely are living in a global marketplace.
And so, creating something that's, we're reasonably fresh into it. It was just a test out to see if it worked, and it's been extremely effective. So, it allows people to get a lot of leverage in that way. But yeah, again, that's generally done by invite only, and making sure that they're a good fit for whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah, because I guess it's one of those things like, I always say it on the show, but you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So, I mean, if you've got good quality people already in there, then hopefully they're going to go, well, if I bring Joe along, he's probably not going to add much value because he's the guy that I go and have a beer with on a Friday. But if I bring Peter or Mary, who own that business down the road and have this massive level of expertise, it's only going to, a floating, rising tide and all that.
Exactly. And I think having clarity in who you are and what you're about, and being able to clearly articulate that in a way that's perceived as valuable to the people that you're looking to attract, and doing that on both online and offline. It allows people, like I said, to quickly buy into your stuff, or just get the hell out of there. And it means you're not wasting time with people that you're not needing to, or not even wanting to build a relationship with.
Yeah. And how did this all start, and where did it begin?
So, I mean, this goes back. I learned how to use LinkedIn really effectively, for one, and I found that I had these networks, especially in a few different states around Australia. This is how and I think this will be a valuable thing to talk about, around curiosity about where things might go. Know your outcome, but be curious about where else it might go. When I ran them, I thought, well, it'd be really good to run an event, and I'll do it in Sydney because I was already going to be there for a mentoring program that I was a part of, and thought, well, I've got some good contacts there. It'd just be great to get some people together because surely they might be able to do some business with one another. Yep. And I thought, well, my aunt and uncle are living up in Brisbane. Maybe I should do one up there as well. So I thought, all right, I'll do it up there. And I thought, well, I used to live in Melbourne, so I'll do it there as well. So I set one up there, and I thought, well, I'm living in Adelaide at the moment. Screw it, let's run one here as well. And so that's how it started. Like that's the grassroots of it. And ran, and I was doing coaching and pieces before and speaking, but from the event side of things, that's where it started. And then ran the events. And after the fourth one, I thought, if I don't make any money out of this, if I don't generate any new clients or speaking opportunities or any other partnerships out of it, it's been worth it, and many times over, because of the connections that were made, the relationships that were built. I knew there was something in it, in terms of learning how to build a network in a way that's not just networking, but it's genuinely being a connector. And there's a huge difference to that. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, thinking that they are actually already pretty good at networking. I used to be good at networking. I went to 30 networking events in the first 90 days of business, built huge amounts of connections, but did I have any real influence over those connections? Not really. And so that was a mistake that I made, was thinking that, I'm really good at this, and thinking that I didn't need to necessarily improve. But I've got to say, going from good to extraordinary, or even great to extraordinary, that's where the gold is. That's where the clients are. That's where the partnerships are. That's where the media opportunity, everything is. I believe most of the stuff is up there. And then there was a sense of curiosity. I thought, maybe I'll expand it out internationally, and I'll go, US would be all right. And then I expanded out and then looked at the cities and did that, and didn't even know how to dial a US phone number when I first started building relationships over there. I had no connections over there whatsoever. And then same goes, Canada as well. So it's been like I said, there's a curiosity, but something that hasn't changed, and this is really important to share, is that the mission's been to connect, inspire, and change the world. And it's all about dreaming big, living fully, making an impact. That has stayed the same. So the overarching mission is still consistent, and it's just the curiosity about how I can bring that to fruition even faster. That's allowed things to grow exponentially, especially over the past couple of years.
And so before we dive into, I guess, what's happening going forward, there's a few things I wanted to pick your brain on for everybody out there in regards to, I guess, networking for starters. what are your best tips for people to, because there's a lot of average, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, there's a lot of people who try and propose on the first date, or they just go around throwing out business cards or things like that. But so I guess first networking, and then secondly, how do you effectively leverage LinkedIn? Because just like real life, there's a lot of people who decide to go for the machine gun bullet approach on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And everyone just goes, oh, go away, and they get one or two replies from their machine gun bullet, and it tends to be poorly qualified people.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So let's go like networking first. The way that I teach, I'm doing a talk on this in the next couple of days actually, and there's a framework that I utilize with my own self that has just been worked absolute wonders. And there's, I'll talk about that, and and it's stuff that I work with clients as well. I believe there's three key components to being able to be a genuine giver versus just needing something from somebody, and being able to network in a way that like the opportunities just come thick and fast. It's amazing when it happens. So those three, it's around performance, productivity, and people. From a performance point of view, the thing with that is that most people are relying on motivation to get it done. They need to motivate themselves to get to a networking event, motivate themselves to make a call, motivate themselves to follow up. And that's all well and good, when things are reasonably easy. But when you're under pressure and you've got a huge amount of things to get done, relationships can end up being pushed to the side. So you're wanting to be in flow. You're wanting to be able to bring your absolute best version of yourself, because the moment that you've got any BS internally is the barriers that you have to connecting with someone fully. And it's the barrier to being able to trust someone fully. It's the barrier to being able to be vulnerable with somebody. It's the barrier to being able to connect with someone on a deep and meaningful level. And, and listening in, you probably, whoever's listening, there's probably been a case in the past where you've maybe had a conversation with someone and you walk away going, I don't know what it was about that person, but I don't know, just something wasn't quite right. Yeah. Almost guarantee there's something going on underneath the surface from an unconscious limit point of view, from a behavioral point of view that they're working through, that's shining in a surface level, but that's going on underneath the level, underneath the surface. And so breaking through anything that's holding you back from an emotional intelligence point of view, having the awareness around why you do what you do, and then being able to actually do something about it and having actionable tools to break through that stuff. Because as I was, especially as we're using digital tools like LinkedIn, if you've got deep down like a fear of rejection, and you go out and message like 1,000 people to the email list or on LinkedIn or 5,000 people, like you've just magnified the amount of rejection versus a traditional networking event. And so what happens is we end up speeding up the rate at which we uncover what's really going on underneath the surface. And so that, I was like, hardly anyone realizes that to connect with someone fully, you need to be able to connect with yourself fully first. And so, becoming your own best friend, becoming your own best mate, becoming, your very best client, however you want to say it, wherever you are in the world, that is absolute key. The second is from around productivity. Most people rely, when it comes to building relationships, they rely on their memory. And that's all well and good when you've got a small network. And I had someone come up, because I talked about follow-up at one of my events recently and how important it is and how most people suck at it. And he came up afterwards. He was a guy new in business. And he came up and said, I love that, I really love that I've got like the follow-up side of things really taken care of. Like I follow up with everyone. And I took a moment just to think. And I said, okay, so if I added 1,000 people that you had to build a relationship with tomorrow, could you do it? And he got thrown back a little bit and he said, oh, no. I said, no, your memory isn't scalable. Your memory right now is enabling you to build the relationships that you've got in your connections right now. But you add another 1,000 or 2,000. For me, I've got over 10,000 contacts on LinkedIn. To manage that is humanly impossible. We can't possibly manage those relationships with our memory. And so we forget to follow up. We forget to follow through with what we say we're going to do. So having a specific system for being able to follow up allows you, one, to remove the emotion from maybe something not going as fast as what you'd like it to, but then two, being able to come through and follow up with everything that you say you're going to do every single time. That builds trust. And then the third component is around people and being able to build relationships. And that comes down to, the reality is most people have got a bunch of connections, whether it's 100 or 500 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000, how many it is, or followers. Connections isn't the problem. Influence is the problem. People don't have the influence. They've got a bunch of connections without any real influence. And so I'd say, those three components of, if you look at those three, it's about managing your energy, it's about managing your time, and it's about managing your relationships. They're the three that I believe are some of the most important things that you could possibly manage in your development of a business, and life in general. It allows you to bring the best version of yourself. It allows you to get more done and make sure that you're following through every single time. And it allows you to influence people in a way, and the people that you want to influence in a way that has them go like, where did you come from?
Yeah.
And it's like, man, and you're like this mystical creature that comes out of the woodwork. Like, man, like, who the hell are you? Like that's what's happening. And it blows me away where, I get, there's someone who introduced me to another guy he's based in LA, introduced me to a really great guy over there. And he introduced me as a person with, I can't remember the exact words, like perfect memory. And I looked at the message and like cracked up laughing. I said, if only you knew. Like, my memory isn't that great, but my system is kick ass.
Yeah.
And I said, all three of those together, it allows you then to give fully without expectation, knowing you'll get taken care of in some way, shape, or form. I think that's really important to know. You only get to that stage when you've gotten your own shit taken care of. You get your own stuff taken care of, then you can genuinely give freely without expectation, knowing that you'll get taken care of. Because if you give freely without expectation, but deep down you don't believe you're worthy, people will take advantage of you, and they will take advantage of you left, right, and center. And then if you feel like you're just looking to get something from someone else, then again you'll get seen as someone who's just in it for themselves. And yeah, you'll do okay, but you won't do as good as someone who gives freely and does it for the right reasons. And I've just found that to be incredibly, incredibly powerful. Not only from a business point of view, and the opportunities are plentiful, I tell you, it's amazing, but from a life point of view. And I challenge anyone to find a marketing strategy out there that makes you feel this freaking good.
Yeah. With that, the giving freely. So I understand conceptually.
Yep.
A lot of people, as you become more notable, as you become, because I mean, what you've done, and I with the influence side of things, I think you're so on point with that. Like, I use my podcast to connect with influencers initially to build my own authority.
Yes.
And then, I mean, you've used your event, like you're at the forefront of your events. So straight away people put you on an authority level or an influencer level because you were able to put all of that together, which fair enough, like rightly so you should be. But straight away you could be, if there's somebody else with the exact same skill set as you, you're going to be the person people will go to because of that influence or that authority that you have. It's the same sort of thing with the accountant who has a best-selling book who did the same courses for other accountants. So you're going to probably go to that person, or the one who's been in 10 different media outlets. Like it all works there. But when it comes to giving freely, I think there's that time where your time becomes more and more valuable. I mean, or you value your time more. Everyone's time is valuable, but the free lunches, the shout you a coffee side of things that a lot of people start, I guess, approaching you with, hey, can I pick your brain for half an hour? I'll shout you a lunch. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think it's important to have boundaries. That's definitely important in that if it's, and this comes down to knowing your mission and knowing your purpose and why you exist. And then being able to make a decision one way or the other as to whether something fits in with that. I mean, is it the best use of your time? So someone who gives freely doesn't necessarily, it doesn't mean that they don't have boundaries. Someone who has a healthy respect for themselves and has a healthy value for themselves, then, what I said before about treating yourself like your very best friend or your very best client, you're not going to go and say yes to every single opportunity. It comes down to being in complete alignment with the overall mission and ensuring that you're utilizing your time in the best way possible. In saying that, I mean, for me personally, especially when starting, and still even now, it's a state of mind. And if I even even someone who maybe is blatantly selling their stuff, I'm a person that'll take the time to tell them that, and be someone that's upfront and honest about it. There was there's another guy who back when I was it was a few years ago now. There's a guy who's just not that likable, just not that likable, and I told him. We sat down for a meeting, and I said, this is when I was back, part of a different networking group, and I said, do you mind if I share something personal? And he said, okay. I said, do you realize that you come across and you're not very likable? This is a guy and that had never been told that. We got to the end of the conversation, and I said, has anyone ever told you that? He said, never. In that voice. And I think it comes down to when you have a healthy level of appreciation and love and respect for yourself, you're not fearing as much about being judged by people. And when you're clear about who you are and what you're about and why you exist, then whichever conversation needs to happen, it happens. And I think the healthy respect for self is incredibly important around that. But boundaries is definitely a critical piece. I mean, ensuring that you're only spending time on the things that are going to allow you to generate results. Just the things to mention there, though, is that you never know where results are going to happen. I had one of the funniest introductions I've had. There's a guy, I sent out a message on LinkedIn to a number of my contacts. So he was US based, and 5 minutes he hadn't responded to me yet. 5 minutes later, he wrote back and said, call me on this number at this opportune time. I'm sobering up at the moment. And so I thought, shit, all right. Yeah, screw it. Let's do it. And if I had just said, oh, no, my values aren't aligned with that or anything like that, then there's no curiosity about where things might go. We talked for 2 hours. He got burritos as he said, I'm going to introduce you to these people as he's getting burritos at this little stand waiting for his ride. He introduced me there. It turned into a speaking engagement that I had in July in LA. He came to my event. We played beach tennis on Santa Monica Beach afterwards. We got an amazing relationship. And then at that event, I met then somebody who there's an amazing invention that's going nuts over there. And then I met someone through an Uber in LA. And his mother was a CEO of a company where I introduced them both, and then they have ended up doing business and helping things in terms of the deaf community. And that's, you never know where things are going to come from. So yes, be certain of the outcomes you're looking to achieve and certain of the mission that you're on, but have that sense of curiosity and that almost like that childlike wonder that many adults lose and lose in the seriousness of it all. And I think that childlike wonder just has done wonders for me. And like I said, you never know where something might go.
Yeah, that's something I love. It was something I was going to add was, when I'm trying to value my time, I often just ask them what do you want to have a chat about, and then usually I can actually point them in the direction. If they're saying, I need some help, planning out my website, I know nothing about that. Talk to my friend; he can help you out, and you're going to get more value from giving somebody off to somebody with more expertise, and hopefully generate them business or and it's a full circle. But I love the childlike wonder, because one of my mentors, he said one day, when was it? I was probably one of the two youngest in the room. Everyone was over 40, 50. He's like, when was it that you last jumped? That you just jumped? And he's like, and everyone's like, oh, can't remember. He's like, when was it you decided you were never going to jump again? And he's like, we just slowly lose this thing. He's like, can you still jump? And majority of the people in the room can. And he's like, well, but you haven't. Not that you need to all the time, but it was kind of the underlying message was you're falling into conformity of what everybody else in the world is putting out. Adults don't jump. It's kids who run around and jump around, and it's kids who do this, or that doesn't fit the status quo. And I mean, hopefully, a lot of the people out there listening to this show don't fit the status quo, because those are the people that I like to surround myself with. But I think having that childlike wonder and that other thing before.
Well, it directly correlates as well into creativity and being able to dream up new, whether it's from a business point of view or, I write a lot of music that's being used around the world. When I try to write a song, which is, we talk about from being like, I'm being serious, I need to write a song, I suck. But if I allow it to be written through me and allow my, to be creative and go, oh, I wonder where this is going to go. It's like, again, it's that, you imagine your body moving a little bit and just go, oh, I wonder where it's going to go. It's like, the excited, that childlike wonder. Then, almost every single one of the songs that I write, that are all, that are doing really well, are written within an hour.
Yep.
And it's because it's allowing it to be written through me, and it's allowing that creative force, that amazing energy that's available to all of us to tap into, that we lose when we shut off from that part of ourselves. So I completely agree. And I love that, the mention about introducing, say, to a website designer, for example, because I think the two of the biggest pieces and ways of building trust with people really quickly is through insights and introductions. Being able to facilitate an introduction or offering an insight that can help them on their way. And I do that as well, where someone will come and say, do you know someone who can help with this? Or they come to me and maybe they're wanting to get. There's someone who sent me a message this morning, actually. I haven't written back yet because we've got this right now, but had wanted to get mentored, and it's in an area that I don't mentor with, and so I'm going to be able to write back and say, look, I don't do that. Here's something that might be of value right now because I've had experience in that area, but I don't work in that area. Which that's an insight, and then I'll suggest a place that they can go to get some mentoring as well. And so insights, introductions, I think works really well, which means you've leveraged your time incredibly well, but you've still added value. I think a lot of people tend to just they don't even respond.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just the country boy in me, but to me that's freaking rude. And if someone's done the thing of reaching out, granted, if they're an absolute douchebag, maybe not. But at the end of the day, people are people, and you never know where something's going to lead or where it's going to come from. And if you can be just a genuine person, I had the event I spoke at in LA recently. There was someone in the crowd that I spoke to afterwards. We spoke for about 20, 30 minutes, and she'd been on Facebook, and she introduced me to someone. And the other day, and that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been a person that actually cares.
Yeah.
You never know where it's going to lead.
It's funny you say that. Like I just finished up a book not so long ago and just released it, and the little bit with the dedication I put, because it's about the authority handbook. So it's about how you can build your own authority and some some hacks on how you can connect with influencers and things like that.
Yeah.
But, I put in the thing. Thanks to my mum for always talking to strangers. We'd go to the supermarket and she'd see someone that she'd met once, and we'd end up in the supermarket for 2 hours because she wouldn't stop talking to them. But it's something that I love. I get energy off connecting with people and talking to people. So I mean that's what I absolutely love. But
I love that.
Let's delve into. I'll ask you a two-part question because I'm sure they're both going to combine. You talked about music and making music and having it heard by millions of ears around the world. How did that all come about? And what is the future of Thriving Collective and the music? What does that look like for you at the moment?
Yep, definitely molds in there. So for me, I grew up, learned piano. From a pretty young age, for about 5 years of learning theory. And I remember actually I stopped playing because someone said something back when I was in grade 8 that made me feel like it just wasn't cool to play piano and the type of music that I was learning. And so that was looking back, it's a pretty defining moment of allowing myself to be dictated by other people's judgment and probably my own judgment. And I stopped playing for 2 years. And I remember walking past the piano one day and just looking over and said, I'll give that another go. And I sat down, and soon after that, I wrote my first original song. I started playing everything by ear instead of learning it through actual reading of music. And it's it's been amazing from there. From I did a reasonable amount of gigging around, and then realised that the type of music that I was creating, I used to do like 4-hour sets where I'd ramp it up from beautiful piano music, and then right at the end it'd be like drum and bass and techno stuff and all this kind of crazy ass stuff back in, definitely back in party days. But I realized though that the music that I was creating had genuine meaning behind it, had depth behind it, and through it, and performing that in a pub or a club where people are just writing themselves off like I used to, wasn't the best place for people to going, man, you really changed my life. Those lyrics were really meaningful. Like, I'm going to go have a good hard look at myself. It just wouldn't happen. So I started, I launched things using online platforms like YouTube. And then the biggest song for me came when I wrote it around the time when I heard a neighbour screaming out back in mid-2010. Ran over with another neighbour, and the mother had just found her son then, and he committed suicide earlier that day. And we ran through the house and out to see everything that had happened. And I remember her saying, "Look, my kids are inside," and so I ran inside, and this was her eldest son, who was still a teenager. And the two kids were like, really young. And I sat and played with them for, I have no idea how long it was, maybe, a number of hours. And to see the dad come home and the look on his face, and then the grandparents come home and the look on their faces, like, that was a big moment for me of the realization that, like, people need help, and what the hell are you doing about it, man? And so, I wrote this song Close to the Edge, which is one about bullying and suicide. That's now, at the time we're having this chat, it's crossed over 1.5 million plays online. It's been used in projects in many, many countries around the world, school projects, film projects, to help raise awareness of that issue. Yeah. There's other songs as well that have made an impact. And it's been about how can I utilize the gifts that I've been given in a way that makes an impact. Everybody's got the unique gifts, whether it's starting a business in some area, maybe it's a talent, maybe they're a musician, maybe they're an artist, whatever it is. Like, everybody's been given these unique gifts, and I believe that everybody, I believe, has a responsibility to utilize them to allow our world to move forward. Because if we don't make some dramatic changes in the near term, we're going to be in some serious shit, and if not already in some serious shit. And so, it's a big driver for me now. And so that's, with music now, and like I said, reach millions around the world. I was over in LA recording new songs, and we did a full production of a couple of new tracks there that are launching into what I'm most excited about in terms of what's coming for the Thriving Collective, where we've announced the Thriving Project. It's all about helping people to dream big, to live fully and make an impact. And it's made up of three main parts. The first being in 2017, we're launching a number of social campaigns that help to unify people around the world to a common cause. And each includes an original song by me personally, the opportunity for people globally to participate and help make an impact, along with then a music video and keynote talk to help tell that story and create positive change. So blending all of the pieces that make me who I am and allow me to make a difference into something that can genuinely change, create change. And so the first campaign's being released in January, and that's about finding your purpose and doing what makes you happy. And there'll be an opportunity for people globally to participate in helping to increase the level of happiness in the world. The second one is then being released, and that's about increasing the level of love and belonging that deep down we all want to experience. And then at the same time, reducing the levels of social isolation and separation that many people are experiencing right now. So that's the music component. The part two of the project is I'm embarking on an epic global adventure in 2017 and beyond. So I'm in the process of getting rid of all of my stuff. I'll be traveling the world, ticking things off my own bucket list while I continue giving talks around the world, coaching people through the Thriving Year coaching program. And then many of the places I'm staying at have a grand piano. So that's just class in itself. So the videos I create will be a combination of insights about living a thriving life, 360 videos of the adventures that I have, and then me creating and performing music on pianos across the globe through the beauty of technology and live streaming. And then with that, people can join me on different experiences, and this is where connection comes in. Amazing people experiencing unforgettable things. Just imagine breaking through something that's been holding you back for years, and then traveling to Switzerland and jumping out of a helicopter from 14,000 feet, or sea kayaking with whales in Alaska, or participating in a sea turtle conservation project in Costa Rica. They're all experiences that are coming, plus more. I've got about 10 plus countries that I'll be living in. And just some phenomenal experiences. So from a boat in Belgium that's got a grand piano on it, to a place that's got the Northern Lights, access to the Northern Lights. So for me, 2016 by far the best year of my life, and I just want 2017 to be the same for millions of people around the world. So that's the two parts, and then the third is that there'll be an inspirational book on how to dream big and live fully and make an impact, where it won't be your traditional self-help book in a way. It's going to include photos of people actually who participate throughout the year, so they, in the social campaign, so they actually feel like they're a part of something that's making an impact in the world, versus just seeing it from a distance. And so then it'll also include the photos of all the amazing experiences and people that I meet along the way, along with insights about how to achieve your highest potential. So that's what's coming, and that's how music is all built into that. And I use music in the keynote talks that I give, and the creation of music. And I believe that it has the power. That project there specifically, the biggest thing I've ever announced in my life, but the one that it has the power to create massive change on a global scale.
It's absolutely awesome and so inspiring, man. I look forward to hopefully being a part of and watching the progress of all of this over the coming months.
You should come out and jump out of the helicopter in Switzerland, man. I reckon you'd do good.
All right. lock me in. There'll be some barriers broken out of there.
Man.
Got a couple of final questions just to round off. What would be the number one resource that you would recommend for anyone listening? So it can be for any part of their life. Just what's something that's had a big impact on you and you'd like to recommend others check it out.
Oh, that's a big one. One of the books that I read recently is a book called Loop Tale. It's by the guy named Bruce Poontitt from G Adventures. The reason why, and this is more from an entrepreneurial point of view, the reason why I love that book so much is G Adventures is the largest, at the moment I think it's the largest small group adventure travel company in the world now. And the reason why I love the book so much is they're also a for-profit social enterprise. And I believe that, I believe every business should be that. It's about still being totally okay with making money, but utilizing it to make an impact, because if we don't, we're going to be in some serious trouble going forward. So there's talks of that. There's culture in the book. There's a spiritual start to it. And realizing his path. There's the struggle that happens right at the beginning of an entrepreneurial journey, right through to $100 million company. So I really love that book. That'd be. I mean, there's tons of resources out there, but that's definitely one that I read and it resonated big time with me.
Wicked. Well, that will be in the show notes at passiveincomeyoung.com. Finally, I just want to thank you and welcome you to the Youngpreneurs family. If people want to check you out, find out more about what you're up to and where you are, where should they go and what should they do?
Yep. Best place is thrivingcollective.com. There's a page there, the tour page, which has Where in the World is Cameron, so you can follow where things are and connect and reach out. There's information and everything about the project as well. So that'd be absolutely the best place to go. And then you can follow on things like Facebook and Instagram, which is facebook.com/Thriving Collective, and same goes for Instagram. So any of the social media channels. LinkedIn is another one as well, obviously. Reach out there. But number one would be thrivingcollective.com, and become an ambassador. It doesn't, it's free to do it, and you can join in whichever way you want to, whether that's just sharing the video with your connections and sharing something inspiring across to maybe joining in on one of the experiences, or whatever else you want to be involved. So that'd be cool, man.
We're good. Well, again, thank you so much. All of those links will be in the show notes, passiveincomeyoung.com, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, man. Great speaking with you. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Youngpreneurs Podcast. This was proudly brought to you by the Podcast Institute, the #1 training resource to take your business from chasing leads to leads chasing you, and from an absolute amateur to a full-blown authority. If you're looking to take your business to the next level, then a podcast is the obvious answer. You can get national and global exposure in a very fast time, and it's just exactly what I've done with this podcast. So if you want to find out more, get a checklist on how you can get started for under $60, and to find out more through a small training video that I've prepared for you all, then please check out passiveincomeyoung.com/podcast training.